Princess stood at the large window of the space station called Nexus Prime. She watched a small shuttle move slowly toward the docking bay. The shuttle was from Earth. It carried humans. Had 4 violet eyes, and all of them showed her displeasure. She was tall, her blue skin smooth like polished stone. The people were known across the galaxy as one of the most dangerous species. They had been warriors for 10,000 years. Their bodies were made for fighting through careful breeding and genetic work. And now the Galactic Council wanted humans to help protect her during the Peace Summit. Humans, the species in galactic society. They had only learned to travel between stars 30 years ago. In the eyes of ancient civilizations like they were bobbies, children who had just learned to walk. "This is an insult," said to her advisor, Lord. He stood beside her, his scaled face showing no emotion. "The Council believes in giving all species a chance to prove themselves," replied. The humans asked to be part of the security team. The Council agreed. They should have refused. The shuttle disappeared into the docking bay, turned away from the window and walked toward the arrival hall. Her royal guards followed her. 20 of them, each one a perfect killing machine bred for war. They wore armor that could stop plasma fire. They carried weapons that could cut through steel. These were real warriors, not whatever Earth was sending. The arrival hall was large and bright. Representatives from many species were already there. Saw the delegation standing in one corner. They were massive creatures, 8 feet tall, covered in thick armor plates that grew from their own bodies. Their claws could tear through the hull of a starship. Their leader, Warlord, had killed over 1,000 enemies in personal combat. In another corner stood the monks. They looked thin and weak with gray skin and large black eyes, but looks were deceiving. They could kill with their minds. They could reach into your thoughts and stop your heart with a single mental command. They were assassins of the highest order. These were the species that would protect the Peace Summit, apex predators, the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. And then there were the humans. The airlock opened and 5 humans walked into the hall. They wore simple gray uniforms with no armor. They carried small weapons at their hips, nothing impressive. Their leader walked at the front. He was young, maybe in his mid-20s by human standards. He had sandy brown hair and light brown eyes. His face was soft, with no scars or marks of battle. He smiled easily, like he was arriving at a party instead of a high-security diplomatic mission. Felt her anger grow. This was what Earth sent, a boy with a smile. The young human approached her and stopped at a respectful distance. He stood straight and brought his hand to his forehead in the human gesture of respect. "Corporal Daniel Harper, reporting for security assignment, Your Highness," he said. His voice was pleasant and calm. Looked at him with all 4 eyes. She studied his face, his body, his posture. He was not tall. He was not muscular. He showed no signs of genetic enhancement or cybernetic upgrades. He was just a regular human being. Among the warriors earned their place through decades of hard training. They were modified before birth to be stronger, faster, and more deadly. A warrior of 26 years would have already killed many enemies and proven themselves in battle. This human looked like he had never seen real danger in his life. "Tell me, Corporal Harper," said, her voice cold, "have you ever been in combat?" Daniel kept smiling. "A few skirmishes here and there, ma'am, nothing too exciting." Almost laughed. The Peace Summit would bring together representatives from 12 different species. Some of them had been at war for centuries. There were many who wanted the summit to fail. Assassins could be anywhere. Danger was everywhere. And Earth had sent this rookie. She leaned closer to him, using her height to look down at his face. "Do you understand what this summit means? Do you know what kinds of threats we face?" "I've read the briefings, ma'am." Reading is not the same as experiencing. The over there could tear you apart with one hand. The could stop your heart without moving. My own guards could kill you in 100 different ways before you could blink. Daniel nodded slowly. That's very impressive, ma'am. Was he mocking her? Could not tell. His face remained friendly and open, showing no fear or worry. Lord stepped forward. Perhaps the corporal would like to show us his abilities, a small demonstration of human combat skills. That won't be necessary, said quickly. She had no desire to watch this soft human embarrass himself. The humans will handle perimeter checks and basic monitoring. The real security will be managed by capable species. She saw something flicker in Daniel's eyes, just for a moment. Then it was gone, replaced by that same easy smile. Whatever you say, Your Highness, we're here to help however you need us. Turned away from him. Stay out of the way, Corporal. Let the real warriors handle matters of life and death. Understood, ma'am. She walked away, her guards forming a protective circle around her. As she left the arrival hall, she glanced back once. Daniel Harper stood where she had left him, watching her go. His 4 human companions gathered around him. He was still smiling. Something about that smile bothered her. She could not say what it was. Perhaps it was because he did not seem hurt by her words. Perhaps it was because he showed no shame at being dismissed. Most beings would have been angry or embarrassed. Daniel Harper just accepted it and kept smiling. Pushed the thought away. She had more important things to worry about than one human rookie. The Peace Summit would begin in 2 days. Representatives from 12 species would gather to discuss the end of a war that had lasted 300 years. The stakes were enormous. The security arrangements were complex. She needed to focus on real threats, not waste time thinking about harmless humans. She entered her quarters and began reviewing the security reports. They would guard the main hall. They would monitor the mental landscape for hostile thoughts. Her own guards would stay by her side at all times. The humans were assigned to watch empty corridors and check identification at minor entrances. It was where they belonged, out of the way, out of danger. After all, what could a rookie like Daniel Harper possibly do in a galaxy full of apex predators? 3 days passed. The Peace Summit was going well. Representatives from 12 species sat together in the Grand Hall, talking about borders and trade and the end of centuries of war. Played her part, speaking for the Empire, pushing for agreements that would benefit her people. Through it all, she tried to forget about Daniel Harper. It was not easy. The humans seemed to be everywhere, not in an obvious way. He was never in the center of things. He never spoke up or drew attention to himself. But whenever looked around a room, she would find him somewhere in the background, standing in a corner, leaning against a wall, watching. Always watching. She noticed that he never seemed to sleep. Humans needed 8 hours of rest every day. She had learned this during her studies of alien species. But during late-night negotiations that went past midnight, Daniel was there. During early morning meetings that started before dawn, Daniel was there. His eyes were always alert. His body was always ready. On the 3rd night, found herself unable to sleep. She left her quarters and walked through the quiet corridors of the station. Her guards followed at a distance, giving her space but staying close enough to protect her. She found Daniel standing at an observation window, looking out at the stars. "Corporal Harper," she said. He turned and smiled. "Your Highness can't sleep." "I have much on my mind." She stopped beside him and looked out at the darkness of space. "What about you? Don't humans need rest?" "I slept earlier, ma'am. A few hours here and there is enough for me." "That's not what the medical reports say about your species." Daniel shrugged. "I guess I'm not a typical human." They stood in silence for a moment, studied his reflection in the window. He looked relaxed and calm, but there was something about him that she could not understand, something that did not match what she saw. "Lord ran a background check on you," she said. "I figured he would. Most of your file is classified. There's a reference to something called the Titan Initiative. We could find no records of such a program. Daniel's smile did not change. Probably just some boring training thing. You know how militaries love their fancy names. Perhaps, turned to face him directly. But I find it strange that a boring training program would require such secrecy. I'm not really sure what to tell you, ma'am. I'm just a corporal. They don't share the big picture with people like me. She did not believe him, but she could not prove he was lying. His face showed nothing but friendly openness. His voice held no tension or fear. "Get some rest, Corporal," she said finally. "Even if you don't need it, you should take care of yourself." "Yes, ma'am, good night." Walked away, but she could feel his eyes on her back, watching, always watching. The next day, something strange happened. The summit delegates gathered for a formal dinner in the main banquet hall. Representatives from all 12 species sat at a long table, sharing food and drinks and careful conversation. Sat near the head of the table, with Lord beside her. The human security team stood along the walls with the other guards. Daniel Harper was positioned near a side door, hands clasped behind his back, that same small smile on his face. Warlord entered the hall late. The massive walked toward the table, his armored feet making the floor shake with each step. He was looking for a seat. The only empty chair was near Daniel Harper's position. Moved toward it. He was 3 steps away when he glanced at Daniel. The human looked up and met his eyes. Nothing happened, not really. They just looked at each other for a moment, maybe 2 seconds, maybe 3. Then stopped walking. His armored plates shifted in a way that recognized. It was a sign of discomfort, of unease. The warlord changed direction and found a different seat at the far end of the table. Stared, Warlord was one of the most feared beings in the galaxy. He had killed enemy champions in single combat. He had led armies that conquered entire star systems. Nothing scared him. But something about Daniel Harper made him choose a different seat. "Did you see that?" whispered two. "I did, Your Highness, most strange." After dinner, saw another strange thing. One of the monks approached Daniel in a corridor. There were telepaths. They could read minds, sense emotions, and see into the souls of other beings. They were almost impossible to deceive. The monk stopped in front of Daniel and seemed to study him for a long moment. Then something changed in the alien's face. Its large black eyes widened. Its thin body went stiff. The bowed. Actually bowed. The monks bowed to no one. They considered themselves above such gestures. They were among the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, and they treated all other species with calm indifference. But this monk bowed to Daniel Harper, a human rookie, and then walked away quickly. Moved fast, catching up to Daniel before he could disappear. "What did you say to the?" she demanded. Daniel looked at her with innocent eyes. "Just introduced myself, ma'am, being friendly." "He bowed to you, the bow to no one." Maybe he was just being polite. They are never polite. They consider politeness a weakness. Stepped closer, lowering her voice. "What are you really, Corporal Harper?" Something flickered in his eyes. It was there and gone in less than a second, but saw it. It was cold. It was old. It was nothing like the friendly young man who stood before her. Then the smile returned and Daniel shrugged. "I'm just a soldier, Your Highness. Nothing special." "I don't believe you." "That's your choice, ma'am," he nodded respectfully. "If you'll excuse me, I need to do my perimeter check." He walked away and let him go, but her mind was racing. Something was wrong. Something did not make sense. The warlord who feared nothing had stepped back from this human. The who bowed to no one had shown him respect. These were apex predators, the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. What did they see when they looked at Daniel Harper? What did they know that she did not? Returned to her quarters and called Lord for a private meeting. "I want to know everything about the Titan Initiative," she said. "Use every resource we have. Contact our spies in Earth's government. I don't care what it costs." Your Highness is this wise. If Earth discovers we are spying on them, something is not right about that human. The other predators sense it. I need to know what he really is. Bode, I will begin immediately. Stood at her window looking out at the stars. Somewhere on this station, Daniel Harper was walking his patrol, watching, waiting. For what? She did not know, but she was going to find out. 2 more days until the summit ended. 2 more days of negotiations and ceremonies and formal events. 2 more days for whatever was hiding behind Daniel Harper's smile to show itself. Had a feeling that she would not have to wait that long. The attack came on the 5th night. Was dreaming when the alarms started. Red lights flashed. Loud sirens filled the air. She sat up in bed, her heart's beating fast, her 4 eyes trying to adjust to the chaos. Her door burst open. Captain, the leader of her personal guard, rushed in with 6 warriors behind him. Your Highness, we are under attack. Hostile forces have entered the station. Who? Unknown. At least 30 armed soldiers. They have military weapons and heavy armor, professional killers. Was already moving, pulling on her clothes and grabbing the small plasma pistol she kept beside her bed. Where are they? Everywhere. They came through multiple entry points at the same time. This was planned. Someone gave them the security codes. A traitor, someone on the inside had betrayed them. We need to reach the secure bunker, said. It's designed to survive anything. You'll be safe there. Nodded, lead the way. They moved through the corridors as a team. The captain went first, checking corners and doorways. The other guards formed a circle around, protecting her from all sides. She could hear plasma fire in the distance. Screams. Explosions. The station was a war zone. They reached a junction where 3 corridors met, held up his hand, signaling everyone to stop. He looked around the corner. A plasma bolt hit him in the chest. The captain fell backward, smoke rising from the hole in his armor. He was dead before he hit the ground. Enemy ahead, one of the guards shouted. The attackers came from 2 directions at once. They wore black armor with no markings. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. They moved like professionals, taking cover and firing with deadly accuracy. Guards fought back. Plasma fire filled the corridor with light and heat. Bodies fell on both sides. We have to move, a guard named grabbed her arm. This way. They ran down a side corridor, leaving the battle behind. 8 guards remained with her now. Less than half of the 20 she had started with. More attackers appeared ahead of them, raised his weapon, but he was too slow. A plasma bolt caught him in the neck. He went down without a sound. Through here, another guard shouted. They crashed through a door and found themselves in the main atrium. It was a large open space with high ceilings and wide floors. Normally, it was a place for meetings and gatherings. Now it was silent and dark, lit only by emergency lights. They stopped, tried to catch her breath. 7 guards remained. Then she saw the bodies. They were scattered across the atrium floor. 14 attackers in black armor, all of them dead, but not from plasma fire. Their wounds were different: broken necks, crushed throats, caved-in skulls. They had been killed by hand. Standing in the center of the atrium was Daniel Harper. He turned to face them and felt her blood turn cold. This was not the same man she had met 5 days ago. The friendly smile was gone. The relaxed posture had vanished. His face was empty of emotion. His eyes were flat and dark, showing nothing but cold calculation. He stood completely still, like a predator waiting to strike. Around him lay the results of his work: 14 bodies. 14 professional killers, armed and armored, destroyed by a single human with no weapon. Your Highness, Daniel said. His voice was calm, too calm. Please stay behind me, more are coming. Before she could respond, the attackers arrived. They poured into the atrium from 3 different entrances, 16 of them. They saw Daniel standing alone in the center, and they raised their weapons. Daniel moved. Had seen combat before. She had watched her elite warriors fight in battles across star systems. She had witnessed the brutal power of berserkers. She had seen monks kill with nothing but their minds. None of it was like this. Daniel flowed through the attackers like water, but water did not break bones. Water did not tear weapons from hands and use them against their owners. Water did not kill. The first attacker fired his rifle. Daniel was not where the bolt went. He had already moved, sliding past the shot like he knew where it would go before it was fired. He grabbed the rifle, twisted it, and slammed the stock into the attacker's helmet. The man went down. A second attacker came from the right, knife raised. Daniel caught his wrist, redirected the blade, and drove it into the man's own throat. A third, a fourth, a fifth. They fell like leaves in a storm. Daniel did not fight like the. He did not rely on strength or speed or genetic enhancement. He fought like something else, something older, something that knew exactly where to hit, when to move, how to turn an enemy's power against them. He grabbed one attacker and used him as a shield against plasma fire. He threw bodies at other attackers to knock them off balance. He picked up fallen weapons and discarded them after one use, moving too fast to be tracked. Some of her guards tried to help. They fired at the attackers, taking down a few, but mostly they just watched, unable to keep up with what was happening. 43 seconds. That was how long it took. When it was over, Daniel stood in the center of a circle of bodies. 16 more added to the 14 before, 30 dead at his feet. He was breathing a little faster than normal. That was the only sign of effort. He turned back to her guards. His eyes scanned them quickly, checking for injuries. Then he straightened his uniform, brushing off some dust. "Area secure, ma'am," he said. That faint smile returned to his face. "We should keep moving. The bunker isn't far." Could not speak. Her guards were equally silent. They were apex predators, bred for war, trained since birth to fight and kill. They had just watched a human, a species they considered weak and soft, destroy 30 professional soldiers with his bare hands. One of the guards, a young warrior named, found his voice first. How did you do that?" Daniel glanced at him. "Training." "That was not training, that was," shook his head. "I have never seen anything like that." "You haven't spent much time around humans then." Daniel checked the corridors leading out of the atrium. "Clear on the north side. We can go this way." Forced herself to move, to think. "You said more are coming. How many?" "Originally there were 53 attackers. 14 were in the atrium when I arrived. 16 more just now. Your guards killed some at the junction. That leaves maybe 10 or 12 still active on the station." "You counted them?" "Yes." "How?" Daniel looked at her. For a moment she saw behind the mask. She saw what the monk had seen, what Warlord had sensed: cold intelligence, perfect focus, an absence of anything except the task at hand. "It's what I do, Your Highness," he said simply. "Now please stay close to me. I'll get you to the bunker safely." Nodded. She had no more arguments, no more doubts. They moved through the station toward the bunker. Daniel went first, checking every corner, every shadow. Twice more they encountered attackers. Both times, Daniel handled them before guards could even raise their weapons. He did not kill with anger or passion. He killed with perfect efficiency. No wasted movement, no unnecessary force. Each strike was exactly what was needed and nothing more. By the time they reached the bunker, no attackers remained. Daniel had killed all of them. Alone. The bunker door sealed behind them. Sat down heavily, her legs weak. Her surviving guards spread out, checking the security of their shelter. Daniel Harper stood by the door, calm and patient, waiting for whatever came next. "What are you?" whispered. Daniel looked at her. That smile was back, but now she could see the emptiness behind it. "I'm human, Your Highness," he said, "just human." Looked at the blood on his hands, the blood of 30 warriors who had died trying to kill her. "No," she said softly, "you are something else entirely." The bunker was small and cold. It was built for survival, not comfort. Metal walls surrounded them on all sides. Emergency lights gave everything a pale blue glow. There was no furniture except for some hard benches along the walls. Sat on one of those benches, staring at Daniel Harper. Her 6 remaining guards had spread out through the bunker, checking systems and monitoring communications. They kept glancing at Daniel. They could not stop themselves. They had seen what he could do. They were afraid. Apex predators, trained since birth to be warriors, were afraid of a human. Daniel stood near the sealed door, relaxed and patient. He had washed the blood from his hands using water from an emergency supply. His uniform was torn in a few places, but he showed no wounds. 30 enemies had tried to kill him, and none of them had even touched him. "The station's security forces are retaking control," one of her guards reported. "The attackers have been neutralized. The crisis is ending." Barely heard him. Her eyes stayed fixed on Daniel. "Tell me," she said finally, "tell me what you really are." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he walked over and sat on the bench across from her. His movements were different now, more careful, like he was showing her that he chose not to be a threat. "What do you know about Earth, Your Highness?" he asked. "You are a young species. You discovered faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. Before that, you were confined to your home system. And before that," frowned, "you were a primitive species. You fought wars among yourselves. You damaged your own planet. By galactic standards, you were children." "That's what everyone thinks." Daniel leaned back against the wall. "But there's something the galaxy doesn't understand about humans, something we don't advertise." "What?" "For most of our evolutionary history, we were not predators. We were prey." Blinked. This was not what she expected. "Think about the other species in this galaxy," Daniel continued. "They were engineered for war, but even before that, your ancestors were apex predators on your home world. They evolved from the largest, strongest creatures on their planet. They developed their mental powers because they were the most dangerous psychics in their region of space." He leaned forward slightly. "Humans were different. On Earth, we were small, weak, slow. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. Everything on our planet wanted to eat us. For millions of years, we survived by hiding and running." "Then how did you become the dominant species?" "We learned, we adapted. We couldn't outrun predators, so we built weapons. We couldn't fight them alone, so we formed groups. We couldn't defeat them with strength, so we used intelligence." Daniel's eyes met hers. They were calm, but she could see the depth behind them, the weight of something ancient and dangerous. Every other apex predator in the galaxy was born that way. They evolved from creatures that were already at the top of the food chain. Humans climbed to the top from the very bottom. We weren't made to be killers. We made ourselves into killers. The Titan Initiative said. "Yes, when humanity reached the stars, we realized something important. The galaxy is full of species like thee and the ancient predators with millions of years of evolution behind them. We couldn't match that. Our bodies are too weak, our reflexes too slow, our senses too limited." "So what did you do?" "We went back to what we know best, survival." Daniel's smile faded completely. "The Titan Initiative identifies humans with certain traits, not physical strength or genetic potential, mental traits, the ability to think under pressure, to adapt instantly, to keep fighting no matter what happens. And then we train them, not to be strong. Humans will never be as strong as we train them to be efficient, to find weaknesses, to use everything around them as a weapon, to never ever stop." He held up his hand, looking at his own fingers. A warrior can break steel with his bare hands. I can't do that, but I can find the exact spot on a body where one finger pressed at the right angle will cause paralysis. That knowledge is more valuable than any amount of strength. Thought about what she had seen in the atrium. Daniel had not fought the attackers with power. He had fought them with precision. Every movement served a purpose. Every strike found a weakness. "How long have you been trained?" she asked. "I was recruited at 14, started active missions at 18. I'm 26 now." "You have been fighting for 12 years, since you were a child." "By human standards, I wasn't a child. Not anymore." His voice was flat. "They only recruit people who have already shown the right qualities. Something has to break inside you first. Something has to show them that you have what it takes." Did not ask what had broken inside him. She did not want to know. "Why pretend?" she asked instead. "Why act like a harmless rookie?" "Because that's the most effective strategy. Every species in the galaxy looks at humans and sees weakness. They see soft skin and slow reflexes and fragile bodies. They don't see a threat." Underestimation. Exactly. The attackers planned this assault carefully. They knew about the guards. They knew about the monks. They knew about your warriors. They planned around those threats. They brought heavy weapons and combat armor to deal with apex predators. His smile returned, but it was cold. "They never planned for me. I was just the human rookie assigned to watch empty corridors, not even worth thinking about. Until you killed them all. Until I killed them all." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the bunker could hear distant sounds. The station's security forces moving through corridors. The crisis was truly ending. "The monk," she said, "when he looked into your mind, he bowed to you. What did he see?" Daniel considered the question. They call it the perfect silence. It's a mental state they spend lifetimes trying to achieve. Complete focus. No hesitation, no doubt, no fear. When you decide to act, there is nothing else in your mind, just the action. And you have achieved this state. I live in it. His eyes were distant. When the Titan initiative is done with you, that's all that's left. The perfect silence. Everything else gets stripped away. That sounds terrible. It is. He met her eyes again. But it's also useful. They spent thousands of years developing their mental techniques. Humans took that concept and turned it into a training program. We're good at that, taking ideas and making them into weapons. Understood now. She understood why the galaxy's apex predators treated Daniel Harper with respect. They could sense what he was. They could feel the danger radiating from him like heat from a star. It was not the danger of physical power. It was something worse. It was the danger of a being that would never stop, never give up, never show mercy. They were fierce, they were deadly, they were terrifying. Daniel Harper was relentless. "What happens now?" asked, "when the summit is over and you return to Earth?" "Another mission, another place where humanity needs someone who looks harmless." He shrugged. "It's what I do." "Do you ever rest, ever have a normal life?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "I don't remember what normal feels like," he said finally. "I'm not sure I ever will." The bunker door unsealed. One of her guards appeared. "Your Highness, the station is secure. The loyal forces have one. It is safe to come out." Stood, she looked at Daniel Harper one last time. "Thank you," she said, "for saving my life." "Just doing my job, ma'am." The smile was back, friendly and warm. The mask was back in place. But would never again see him as just a rookie. She knew what lurked behind that smile now. She had seen the predator hiding in human skin. And she understood why the galaxy should be very, very careful about underestimating humanity. The station was quiet now. The fighting had ended hours ago. Teams were cleaning up the damage and removing bodies. The representatives who had survived were gathering in the main hall to discuss what had happened. Princess walked through the corridors with Lord at her side. Her remaining guards followed at a distance. They moved differently now. They kept looking around, checking corners and shadows. They had seen what a single human could do. They would never feel completely safe again. Warlord was waiting in the main atrium. The Massive stood among the bodies that still lay on the floor, 30 dead attackers, most of them killed by hand. The human growled, "He did this." "Yes," said. "Alone." "Yes." His armored plates shifted, his claws flexed. He was the most feared warrior of his generation. He had conquered star systems and killed hundreds of enemies in personal combat. He stared at the bodies on the floor with something that might have been respect or fear. "I wish to speak with him," said. As if summoned, Daniel Harper appeared at the far end of the atrium. He walked toward them with that easy stride, hands clasped behind his back, smile on his face. He looked exactly as he had 5 days ago. Young, soft, harmless. But now everyone in the room knew better. Daniel stopped a few meters away from. He had to look up to meet the eyes. The warlord was nearly 3 feet taller than him and must have weighed 5 times as much. "Warlord," Daniel said pleasantly. Stared down at the human. Among the dominance was shown through size and presence. By standing tall and spreading your armored plates, you projected power. You made others step back. Spread his plates. He drew himself up to his full height. He projected every ounce of his terrifying presence. Daniel did not move, did not flinch, did not look away. After a long moment, stepped back. It was small, just a slight shift of weight, but every predator in the room saw it. The greatest warrior alive had yielded ground to a human who barely reached his chest. "I have heard stories," said slowly, "tales of human soldiers. I thought they were lies, exaggerations." "We like to keep things quiet," Daniel replied. "Why?" "Because surprises are useful. If your enemies expect you to be weak, they make mistakes. If they know what you can really do, they prepare." Considered this. His massive head nodded slowly. "There is wisdom in that. My people believe in showing strength, in making enemies fear you, but perhaps there is another way." "There's always another way. That's kind of our specialty." The senior monk approached next. He moved carefully, keeping a respectful distance from Daniel. His large black eyes watched the human with careful attention. "When I touched your mind during our first meeting," the monk said, "I saw something that troubled me greatly." "I remember," Daniel said. "I have looked into the thoughts of 1,000 killers, assassins, warriors, monsters. I have seen hatred and rage and madness. I have never seen what I found in you." Leaned forward. "What did you see?" The monk turned his black eyes toward her. "Completeness. When this human decides to kill, there is nothing else in his mind. No doubt, no fear, no hesitation, no emotion at all, just the task, pure and absolute." "The perfect silence," Daniel said. "Yes." The monk's voice held something had never heard from before, respect mixed with fear. "Among my people, we have spent lifetimes trying to achieve such a state. We meditate for decades. We train our minds for centuries. Most of us never reach it. And he has reached it. He lives in it." The monk bowed his head toward Daniel. "Whatever your people did to create you human, it is both impressive and terrifying." Daniel's smile did not change. "I didn't choose this. Nobody chooses this. You're made into it whether you want it or not." "Does that trouble you?" "It used to. Now it's just what I am." Stepped forward. She stood between the warlord and the monk, facing the human who had saved her life. Around them, representatives from other species were gathering. They had all heard what Daniel had done. They wanted to see him for themselves. "Why do you pretend?" she asked. The question had been burning in her mind since the bunker. "Why let the galaxy believe humans are harmless?" Daniel considered the question carefully. "Because we're playing a longer game, Your Highness. The galaxy has thousands of years of history, war after war, empire after empire. Every apex predator species has risen and fallen by the same pattern. They grow strong. They conquer. They make enemies. Eventually, those enemies unite against them and bring them down. You think that will happen to us, to the. It's happened to every dominant species so far. Why would you be different? His words hung in the air. Nobody argued with him. They all knew their history. They had all seen great empires fall. Humanity doesn't want to be the biggest predator, Daniel continued. We don't want to conquer the galaxy. We just want to survive. And the best way to survive isn't to make everyone fear you. It's to make them underestimate you until it's too late to stop you. Warlord let out a rumbling sound that might have been a laugh. So you hide your strength. You let others think you are weak. And when they attack you, we remind them why that was a mistake. The atrium was silent. Dozens of beings from 12 species stood there looking at one small human. They were bigger than him, stronger than him, more ancient than him. But in that moment, they all understood something important. Humans were not prey that had learned to fight back. They were predators that had learned to hide. Thought about the ancient texts of her people, prophecies passed down through generations of rulers. One passage came to her mind now, words she had always dismissed as primitive superstition. When the prey learns to hunt, the predators will know fear. She had thought it was a warning about rebellions or uprisings, about conquered species rising against their masters. Now she understood, it was about humanity. There's something else, she said slowly, something you haven't told us. Daniel looked at her with those calm, patient eyes. What's that? You said humans suppress your predator instincts. You domesticated yourselves to build civilization, but those instincts are still there, sleeping. Yes. There are billions of humans, billions of people carrying that sleeping predator inside them. Yes. And the Titan Initiative wakes it up. Daniel's smile faded. For a moment she saw through the mask completely. She saw the cold truth underneath. Every human has the potential to be what I am, he said quietly. We don't advertise that either. Most humans never discover it. They live normal lives, never knowing what they could become. Lucky ones, really. But if humanity was threatened, then we would wake up, all of us. Billions of sleeping predators suddenly awake and very, very angry. His eyes met hers. That's the real reason the galaxy should be careful about how it treats humanity. We're not dangerous because of soldiers like me. We're dangerous because every single human could become a soldier like me, given the right circumstances. The room was completely silent. Understood now why her ancestors had written those prophecies. Somehow, thousands of years ago, they had sensed this truth. They had known that one day a species would emerge from the darkness of space, a species that looked weak and harmless, a species that had learned to hide what it really was, a species that was more dangerous than all the apex predators in the galaxy combined. 3 months later, the peace summit concluded successfully. The treaty was signed. The war ended. A new era of cooperation began. Daniel Harper returned to Earth. He filed his report, packed his bag, and prepared for his next mission. Another place, another job, another chance to smile and seem harmless while the galaxy's deadliest beings looked right past him. Before he left, requested a private meeting. I want to understand, she said. How should the galaxy treat humanity? What should we do with this knowledge? Daniel was quiet for a moment. Just treat us fairly, he said finally. Work with us, trade with us. Let us be part of the galactic community. That's all we really want. And if someone doesn't, if someone attacks humanity? That smile returned, warm and friendly and completely false. Then they'll find out what happens when prey learns to hunt. He offered a final salute and walked toward his shuttle. Watched him go. This ordinary-looking human who had killed 30 enemies with his bare hands and never stopped smiling. She remembered his words. Every human has the potential to be what I am. billions of sleeping predators, waiting, patient, ready. The galaxy had dismissed humanity as a young, weak species not worth worrying about. They had looked at soft skin and fragile bodies and seen nothing dangerous. They had been very, very wrong. Watched the shuttle disappear into space, carrying Daniel Harper toward his next mission. She thought about all the other humans spread across the galaxy. Scientists and traders and diplomats and tourists, all of them smiling, all of them harmless. All of them carrying that sleeping predator inside. The princess turned and walked back into the station. She had reports to file and treaties to review, but she knew that she would never forget this lesson. The galaxy was full of apex predators, ancient species that had evolved to kill. But humanity had done something none of them had ever accomplished. They had evolved to hide. And that made them the most dangerous species of all.